Going live again.
Okay.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Danilo's free, and it goes to Gibbs.
First time we've seen them attack them, and there's Brandon! Well, that's what I wanted to see Robinson do. Taylor one, he scores! And the City ground goes ballistic! He's through here! And in the end, Forrest will say it doesn't matter how you play as long as you win it. Yeah! Forest Sale, Premier League!
Hello, welcome back to Red Side of the Trent, here to discuss all the latest ongoings with the PSR madness seeming to be over, but with all the chaos seeming to kick off as well in all the midst of the Twitter hierarchy. Transfer deadline is definitely, well, not transfer deadline day, the opening of it all is definitely upon us. Joining me is Reece Lane and Christian Brown as ever. How are we, chaps? You well?
Yep.
Well,
yeah.
No one answer me then.
There's a lot to take in today, isn't there? Especially
there is
with
absolutely loads to take in, as well as England.
Today should be about one thing and one thing only, but of course, yeah.
No. Forest have always got to overshadow England because that's been an absolute travesty. And now the chaos is rating. Christian, you mentioned about missing all the chaos last week to me when you spoke, and now it's truly here. What's your thoughts and feelings on everything that's gone on this week, just as an overview?
What, with Forest?
Yeah, with all of it, madness.
It's we've got to a point now, haven't we, where June 30th is going to become, while this PSR window remains as it does, it's going to remain more exciting than deadline day, isn't it? Like, see what happens today in the build up to it. Just teams who need to sell suddenly agreeing insane fees with other teams who are in the same boat. Yeah, it's been carnage, really. I thought, to be fair, we've done largely well to keep out of it. I mean, obviously, we've sold, also, I haven't finished it yet, but Niakhate is going to Lyon for like a big fee. Obviously, L'Equipe seem to think it's about 27 million, but Percy at Telegraph said it's 20. So either way, like, it's still big profit in the bank considering his PSR value left in the book. But yeah, obviously now the whole Anderson thing, it seems we very much have come to the table with it and got involved, which many thought we probably would do. I told you, deadline days of Marinakis, June 30th, and then the actual deadline day. Game of poker, mate. I keep saying it.
Should be like a national holiday. Reece, so let's start off with the start of this all. So Moussa Niakhate has been sold to Lyon for a reported 20 to 26 million, as Christian said. Could be anywhere. We never really know the numbers. But what's your thoughts and feelings on that sale? Because it's kind of come out of the blue. I mean, there was an article in the Athletic that said Nuno would have liked to have kept him, but obviously that's not been able to happen. Thoughts on that deal?
I do like Niakhate, but I think it's good business with the fee. Plenty of profit on it, isn't it? And this is the reality for a club like us. You know, we're going to have to at times trade players we probably don't want to for, as they say on Hot Fuzz, the greater good. So you know, I think it's good. I think it's good business because he's not a nailed on starter. He's in the conversation to start, but to be fair, he's better at left centre back, where at the minute we've got, you know, someone who's rated at 70 million by the club who's going to start there if he's fit and here. So I think it's good business, mate, personally. But Niakhate, I thought he always gave everything he had for the shirt, and I wish him well, personally.
Yeah, Christian, thoughts as well?
About Niakhate, yeah, I agree with what Reece said pretty much. It's a shame because I actually really liked him as a player. I don't think we fully saw the best of him in the Forest shirt. We only saw it in glimpses, really. Obviously, he was unfortunately had quite a bad run of injuries, which typically with Forest never happened at all in Mainz. I think he missed 2 games. One of them was due to COVID at Mainz. Comes to Forest and misses 7 months with a hamstring injury. But yeah, I think, you know, he, above all else, he seemed a really good leader for the group as well. Like, it never ceased to amaze me when we imploded against Luton and a certain writer from a certain paid sports subscription news network implied that Worrell was more of a leader than Niakhate was, despite the fact that Niakhate was a captain for several years at Mainz in the Bundesliga to a very high standard. And we saw it like every time when the going got tough, like he put out a tweet, wouldn't he, saying that, we'll bounce back from this. We hear what you're saying, we'll get it right. And both times he did that. Both times he got the desired effect. So yeah, I will miss Niakhate. I think that obviously we all sort of seem to think that Murillo would be the one being sold. Niakhate was taken to his void as that left-sided centre half, and hopefully with an injury-free season, show us what you really could do. But that money on the table is pretty mad. So we'll take it and move on and wish him the best.
Yeah, I mean, for a player who's got 1 year left, I think it's tremendous business from ourselves. I'm not sure what's going to happen in terms of after the June 30th, because there is a lot of talk that Forest will then go and purchase a Lyon player to help them out if they're struggling financial. It's really ironic that their scouting kind of department involves David Frio and Matthew Louis-Jean, as well documented across the Forest kind of timeline, which is absolutely hilarious in itself. Interesting. I think the next kind of topic of discussion in Elliot Anderson is intriguing. I mean, Christian, we spoke briefly off air about what it could be. Initial 10 million, maybe rising up to 35. I don't know what's going to happen there. What's your thoughts on him as a player? Just as your opinion.
I mean, I know obviously we've got, I can see John in the lobby waiting to tell us probably everything I'm about to say is wrong, but I don't see how he improves Forest squad. I really don't. Like, he isn't better than Gibbs White in the 10. He isn't better than Elanga or Hudson-Odoi out wide. He isn't better than Danilo or Dominguez in midfield. 35 million, really? Like, is that what that gets you in today's current market? Like, that's concerning. Very, very concerning. I mean, like you said, the only way that the deal makes any sense if it's like 10 million up front, and like much like with Gibbs White to Wolves, half those fees are like, Anderson to play 150 times for Scotland or something, and Forest to win the Champions League 7 times, because there's no feasible way that makes any other business sense. Like, obviously Newcastle can book it as 35 million as they want, but those add-ons can't be achievable, because that's crazy money for someone who isn't really that good. Like, I question someone who's played in a very successful team in the last 2 years, have come 4th and 7th and hasn't scored a Premier League goal for them yet, who's played in attacking positions. I've seen their fans say that, he slows things down where he's on the ball. And, they might go, oh, to Jordi Maradona, etc., etc. But as we know with Forest, like, youth players get a complete different level of protection than other players do. So they're naturally going to be upset because he's one of their own. But I don't, like I said to you off air, it reminds me of Diangana at West Ham. All their fans kicked off massively. Mark Noble was exactly the same, said that he couldn't believe Moyes made such a decision. He's been bang average in the Championship for the last 3-4 years. Like, it just feels like a case of that all over again. I really don't see logic in it at all.
Yeah, Reece, what's your?
Yeah, well, I think it kind of depends on the feed, doesn't it? The lad's not worth 35 million, but it has been reported by the Northeast journalists who have got an audience to cater for, and that's Newcastle fans. I think if the fee was around the reported 10 million with a few add-ons, I don't think that would be too bad business. The lad's only 21, so he's still got a lot of potential. Still at a good age. He's versatile. He's got Premier League experience. So, with any signing, the proof will be in the pudding, won't it? We'll have to see. I'm just hoping it's not really towards them figures, what have been quoted. But as we know, journalists like to exaggerate things. So we'll see, mate. But a little bit of breaking news while we're doing this is that the player who's going to them is going to be Vlachodimos, it seems. So that'd be good business. That'd be good business for us. So all their fans are dreaming of Gibbs White and Elanga, and it's going to be his third choice keeper. So yeah, I do like that bit of business.
I mean, if that is true, Marinakis is an absolute god, right? I'm sorry, right, but that is absolutely ridiculous. To sit firmly on the fence, I think, like you say, Reece, the proof is in the pudding. We've signed Anthony Elanga from a Man United side who looked really rough around the edges, kind of didn't get loads and loads of consistent game time. We gave him that, and he really shone last season, though towards the end of the season kind of tailed off. But We shall see. Anyway, we're going to welcome John Lane from the True Faith podcast. John, how are you this morning? I know we're talking Forest and Newcastle, but England to look forward to later in the day, or not, however you look at it. But how are you, mate? You enjoying the summer?
Yeah, I mean, I'd enjoy it more if England were were any good. I think, but no, yeah, having a good summer so far. I think from a Newcastle perspective, I think we've been looking at these. I want to call it PSR gymnastics. I think this is probably what this deal comes down to a lot of, and I think you're right in terms of, was it Reece who made the point there around Northeast journalists are reporting 35 million and they've got an audience to cater for, and the club don't want to be seen to be letting someone like Elliot Anderson go on the cheap, but 35 million feels like, if that is true, if there's any truth in that, it is very, very good business by Newcastle, has to be said. And Forest have got a habit of doing good business with Newcastle, such as John Joe Shelby, Chris Wood, and yeah, I think it's an intriguing one from that perspective.
I mean, you must have heard Christian's opinion on him. How much do you agree and disagree with that on itself?
I don't watch enough of Forest to harbour the same opinion, so I want to be really careful in terms of that. I think, look, Elliot Anderson's a talent. I think probably the biggest thing going against him at Newcastle is that we play 4-3-3. So he probably, when he went to Bristol, I think he basically played there as a winger and banged them in at Bristol Rovers, got them promoted. He then he's had a couple of injuries, had a back injury, which is what ruled him out most of last season. But when he came back in, one thing is he's definitely developed as a young man. So he's really filled out. He's a lot stronger than he was. One of the biggest things that was costing us was we didn't have that physicality in the middle of the park when we had all our injuries and Joe Linton was out. So it made a massive difference for us. When Elliot Anderson started coming back in, he started to show a bit of that strength. The other thing as well with Elliot Anderson, he's always looking forward and he's always trying to play that forward pass. Now, I think the reason why this has probably been more palatable for the club to let Anderson go is two reasons. First of all, PSR, I don't need to talk to 3 Forest fans about the impact that PSR can have on your football club. But, that's a real thing because, you've lost points last year. Everton have lost points and Leicester are probably going to lose points next season as well. So PSR is real. We can't ignore it. This whole idea that we're the richest club in the world is a load of bollocks, quite frankly. Sorry, pardon me. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear or not. But it's a load of rubbish because we're not the richest football club in the world. We've got the richest owners and we're restricted by what we can do around what those regulations are. As I said before, I think it's PSR gymnastics. I'd be very surprised if we're signing your third choice keeper. As a and if that's the case, then Eddie Howe must know something I don't about how useful he could be. We are probably going to lose Martin Dubravka this summer. So maybe it is the fact that we just need someone in. We didn't offer Karius a new contract, so potentially there's a bit of that. But I have a feeling that we're probably going to do a separate deal with you lot, like in the next week or so, for another player around about the same kind of fee. That's what I think will probably happen. Alanga's one that we think has probably been the most likely. I'd love us to have a shout of Morgan Gibbs-White, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure how palatable that is from Forest's perspective. If you're going to pay 35 million for Anderson, are you really going to let Morgan-White go for 40, 45? I don't think so.
Gibbs-White, you're probably looking at near enough double to take him away. You're looking probably 70 million, I imagine. Alanga, 35 million. Personally, I'd probably want a little bit more, but I'm not in the boardroom for him. So could that one, for the fee you've just mentioned, that would probably be the more palatable one if it was to happen. And, with Vlachodimos, it'd simply go to you as like what Karius was, just a second choice at best. You know what I mean? Matt Turner kept him out of the team, and he was a disaster for us. So that kind of says what you already say. He'd just be a backup for you if that is true.
What I will say regarding Vlachodimos, though, is that it's quite telling that he's had, even before this, there's been quite a fair bit of interest in. Like I spoke to Adam about this before. There's been some interest in him around the continent. Obviously, he played for Benfica for a long time. playing a lot of Champions League football for them as well. He never really got a chance to show it at Forest. Whenever he did, like kept conceding worldies, but equally didn't really help himself in other areas either. So it was it's probably in everyone's interest he's moved on. But I mean, he won't be as bad as Karius, put it that way. So yeah,
I'd be really shocked if it is Lacademos, but also really happy because it's time we owe Newcastle a pulling of the pants down. Although we did in the away game at least with Chris Wood scoring a hat trick. But he didn't celebrate in front of the Gallagher end, which I really wanted him to, because he'd have at least like done that for a hat trick, John. But what's your early thoughts if it is Lacademos? Would you really? I'd assume you'd be extremely disappointed at it not being one of our maybe slightly bigger hitters.
I think it'll be the first time that this new ownership's come in and we haven't actually improved the squad with something that we've done. So I think there's a lot of talk around, people were talking about Lloyd Kelly and saying, oh, well, is that really an aspirational signing? But Paul Dummett out, Lloyd Kelly in makes sense. It improves your squad. And then you could say the same if we were to bring in someone like Alanga the other way. I would argue that probably does improve our squad. Look, I think Anderson's a hell of a talent. Obviously, there's an emotional attachment there with him being a local lad as well, and what have you. And it's really sad that we live in a day and age where you have to sign academy products to satisfy financial regulations. Like it's awful. That's where we are. But I think he's got a lot of promise, a lot of potential. Does he improve your squad? I don't know, because I haven't seen enough of his. And I wouldn't want to kind of make that judgment or promise fears. But there's a hell of a player in there. It's whether Nuno's going to get the best out of him. He's probably not the manager I would want if I was Elliot Anderson, in the nicest way. I think Cooper probably would have got more out of him. If I'm to be fair, that's how I feel in that regard. Eddie Howe's been great for Elliot Anderson when he's got him involved, but I think the challenge is he's been very much a jack of all trades and hasn't really got to play probably his favoured position. You mentioned that he hasn't scored a Premier League goal. Well, ironically, we're on a Nottingham Forest podcast, and he had a perfectly good goal disallowed at the City ground for the craziest offside decision I've ever seen. So yeah, he's been unlucky in that regard, but it'll be a shame to lose him. But unfortunately it's the business we're in now. That's kind of where we are.
To be fair, just to caveat that, like Hudson-Odoi has gone from strength to strength under Nuno. So hopefully he could, obviously if he was to join, he could have that effect on Anderson. But like you say, John, it's just a shame really that, you're selling your academy graduates really like pieces of meat to satisfy regulations. The lad, is he from Whitley Bay, isn't he, Anderson?
Yeah, and
so
played for Wallsend Boys Club. There's a lot of heritage there.
Yeah. So there's no way in a million years he'd want to leave Newcastle to come to us. It's just, he's just unfortunately part of a trade-off for the greater good of your club. It is a shame, that is, but the rules are the rules. And like you said at the start of the piece, we could debate and moan about them all day, but what can we do, really? We're just part of the other 14, as the famous account goes on Twitter.
Just to finish off, John, and obviously, so you can get on with your day and whatnot. You mentioned obviously he's a jack of all trades and he hasn't played in his favourite position. So from a Forest perspective, we're getting a versatile player. But where would you say his strongest position, and what are his strongest assets that we could expect if he is to come on Trent's side? I think
his best position is number 10. And obviously you've already got Morgan Gibbs-White there. So there is that challenge. But if not, you can easily play on the wing. He's played a lot for us in central midfield. That's kind of tend to be where he was getting his minutes for us. And again in a 3, you had almost Bruno playing almost as a 6, and then Anderson basically was like Anderson was playing the Premier League games, and then Tonali was starting the Champions League games. That's kind of what was happening around that time. So that's probably where you see him, either central midfield on the wing or potentially in the number 10 if anything happens to Gibbs-White. I mean, who knows what could happen there?
Yeah. John, thank you very much. True Faith podcast. If anyone wants to check it out, if whatever happens, obviously on the opposite end, if the player does go your way. I'm sure one of us will jump on your podcast. But enjoy your day. Hopefully England don't spoil it for everyone, including yourself.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Thank you, mate.
Cheers.
So John Lane there from the True Faith podcast, everyone. Reese, thoughts on what John said as for Elliot Anderson as a player, first of all?
Like I said in my previous comment, I kind of sometimes with players, some players just fit for a certain club, don't they? I don't look dead much into what players have done for kind of other clubs. Like we've had players who've come here, been absolutely a massive success for other clubs, and they've been a disaster for us. We've had the flip side. You look at Jed Spence as a prime example. So, like I said to John, it's just a shame. It's kind of like a trade-off of meat, isn't it? Really, to satisfy these rules. Hopefully he can come and he can kind of get over the fact he's leaving his boyhood club, get his head down. I'm sure he'll probably be hoping that coming to a lesser club in terms of league standard than Newcastle, he can play more regularly. So we'll see what happens, mate. Like I said, he's still a young lad, so he's still got time to develop, etc. And hopefully Nuno can get the best out of him, and we can, see a good player for us.
I mean, Danny in the chat, friend of the pod, Fabrizio Romano tweeting that Vlac has got a medical later today at Newcastle. That is an absolute madness. Christian, you thought John might come on and be a little bit more Newcastle tinfoil hat on kind of mode, but I actually thought he was quite honest with his opinion. What did you make of it, or does it? I know you've got your opinion that you think it's a bit of a backward step almost in the market for a player, but what's your opinion of him? Has it changed any more or what?
No, of course not. It was very balanced. It was very balanced appraisal of him, but like it didn't tell me anything that we didn't really know. Like I said to you before, he's not going to get minutes ahead of Gibbs White. He's not gonna, he's not better than Alangra Hudson-Odoi. And if you look, so obviously he's not a defensive midfielder. So he's going to likely, if he is going to play in midfield, it'd be the ones to the side of him. Is he better than Danilo Dominguez? No. So it's a bit like, well, okay. I do. To be fair, I remember reading that Athletic report, and it said that the reason why Dan Taylor obviously said that the reason why we signed Gio Reyna to begin with was because Nuno was terrified that we'd get an injury to Gibbs White or something like that and wouldn't have suitable backup. So at least now we would have that in Anderson, and obviously with Aguilera floating around as well. You've got two 21-year-olds who could be the future of the club in that aspect, which is very exciting in one sense.
If it was, can I give you like a caveat question, Christian? If let's say the report was, we've signed him for 10 million, would that make you a bit more enthusiastic about it?
No, because like you're basically saying it's either way, he's a squad player. Like he's not like, but then you have to look at it. Is he actually improving the squads? And it's like, well, no. So you can argue maybe it's more depth on the wings because we haven't actually got that. To be fair, we've only got two wingers at the club, so any other signing is.
I guess you are improving the squad then as such because you got a player that can fill a few gaps. But he's not improving the starting 11, is what you're saying.
And like you say though as well, it's not like we're signing like somebody who's 33 and kind of washed up. At least he's still got that potential to like develop and get better as a player. You know what I mean?
I guess, but I could be completely wrong here. I don't envision a world where we'll sell him £35 million back. So,
well, I think just to like give it at least with from a nerd and a statistic point of view, WT Analysis, who's someone that we've spoke to quite frequently privately. We're trying to get him on the pod at some point. But what I do like about Anderson is in possession, his progressive runs are in the 99th percentile, and we haven't really got a midfielder that runs with the ball a lot, which I do like. He has a lot of
in the wing, Adam. Those stats are so flawed. It's what I looked at the FB ref before, and he's like the 97th percentile for everything, but that's because he's played in the wing. So of course he's going to have more take-ons than your average midfielder.
They're not take-ons, just progressive runs. And what I'm trying to say is we haven't got a player that runs
go backwards, do they? Wingers don't run towards their own goal.
You should hope not. But if he's been playing centre midfield all this time, Christian, is what I'm trying to say is we haven't got that player that does drive with the ball.
So
and it is something that is an
Yeah,
asset
that's why I
to
saw
bring
it.
to the team.
I thought, like, to be fair, it could be like a Premier League version of O'Brien. That's what he wanted, someone to carry the ball from deep. But then, like, he has played the wing as well this season, so those stats are completely flawed.
To touch on something John said, at least he always tries to play forward. We've criticised certain midfielders for not playing forward on this pod. So at least if he does come in, he's always looking to play forward. I'm sure we've all seen the clip from Cesc Fabregas talking. You've got as a centre mid, you've got to play forward. Always be looking to play forward. So that's also something positive. I mean, I don't think it will be near that fee of 35 million. I think it probably be money up front and then maybe going up to that fee if, I don't know, Forest land a rocket on the moon or something. But we'll see if the netball team wins the league.
Just to touch on as well, like if that is Ramon reporting it must be half true or at least very, very good resource because we know where he gets all of his information from. Vlachodimos going there is absolutely sensational business if that is the case. Unbelievable, but
as well.
That is just sensational. I mean, we're having a great start to the summer in terms of transfers and everything. But if this is the end of our PSR, the club have to take massive credit especially for holding on to 2, 3, 4 of our best players in this window. As long as we can replace them with adequate people. I mean, we are targeting a far too many youngsters for my liking. I do think we do need some experience. Hopefully that does come, and because we can't rely on someone like Willy Bolly playing the whole 38 games. It's just not feasible. So hopefully that is true. But we've been linked with a fair few players. Someone I did want to talk to you especially about, Reese, because you've been banging on the door since the Euros have started. And George's Mikhail, if that's how you say, Mikhail Tadze from Metz, which I looked at his transfer record, right? So he got signed from Metz to Ajax for 16 million and loaned back for the last 2 seasons. He signed for Metz for 13 million again. But they got relegated, scored quite a few goals. But what do you make of that link? It's a bit loose because he was linked to go to Monaco as well.
So basically he went to Ajax and they obviously had an absolute disaster of a season where I think they were near to the relegation zone at one point, weren't they? He went back to Metz in January and then banged 14 goals in 22 games, I think it was for them, but they still went down. Obviously, he's been really good with Kvaratskhelia up front for Georgia, but it was just something that I was just interested in. I see, he looks like he's going to Monaco, and then there was a few loose links. There was us, Villa, West Ham. So, probably just a loose link into, but it would be someone I'd like us maybe to have a look at. We'll have to see. I think there's not, end of the day, why the Euros is still on. We've still got a couple of weeks till it finishes. I don't think there's going to be loads of business done, especially until the deadline for the PSR's passed as well, which is today. And so I think probably next week, I'm sure we'll be confirming the signing of Miguel from Corinthians, and then you'll probably get some off the field pitch. Off the field news like the kits etc. But and then things will start to ramp up then as we go throughout the month of July. But I look like, if you follow Morgan Gibbs White on Instagram, for example, he's still on holiday. So everyone's still on holiday. Everyone's either on holiday, playing in the Copa America or playing in the Euros. So I think probably mid-July you'll see it start to ramp up a bit, and it's clear we need players in certain areas, like you said, Adam, centre backs and other bits and bobs. So we'll see what happens going forward. It'll never be without the drama with Forest, won't it?
No, it's more exciting anyway. But at least with when it comes to pre-season, most of the players should be back and reported, apart from, like you say, Matt Sells and Brandon Aguilera. I think everyone else has pretty much not been playing international football.
Yeah, but also just to add, obviously, it is good that it does seem we've got kind of away from this PSR mess, because we can't go into next season thinking, we might get another deduction, because I know people it's so stupid that even people, think muting the idea of us taking one. That's how ridiculous kind of football is, isn't it, nowadays? You're muting the idea of taking a points deduction over, selling players. It shouldn't ever be like that. But, So credit to the board for getting us out that mess, but they did get us into it in the first place. So yeah, if they would have obviously managed it right in the first place, we wouldn't have been in this mess. So but yeah, it is hopefully the days of points deductions and worrying about PSR is kind of in the past now, and we can move on and actually run as club efficiently, because with the club we are in the Premier League, that other 14, as we say, that's the way you've got to do it. And Brighton and Brentford are the pioneers for that.
Yeah. Another link we had in the week as well, Christian, is Sane Diao from Real Betis. Scored 3 goals in his first 3 games for them this season in a breakthrough year. 19 years old. And do you think there's anything in that, or do you think that's again another loose link, because he's been linked to a fair few clubs? He's got a big release clause, I think like 35 million euros, I think it is.
Yeah, I saw he's been linked with Brighton and Brentford, which tells you a lot.
Means we're in the right market.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know, it'd be quite exciting. I think he looks obviously I can't say I know a lot about him. I haven't really watched that much of La Liga over the last year or so. Obviously I listen to the roundup that normally covers things at the top end and occasionally the bottom end rather than sort of the middle. But no, obviously the highlights package we saw looked quite promising. Obviously, but then again, every player's going to have a good highlights package. You'd hope. If you look at Giroud's highlight package, you'd probably think he's like a multiple Ballon d'Or winner. But I think it seems the right. I kind of see what you're saying in that we are maybe going sort of from one extreme to the other, in that we are looking at very, very young players rather than ones who can. I think you do need a balance, but yeah, I mean, by all means, it's an exciting link. Whether it comes to anything or not, I don't know. But it's good that we aren't looking at. I think the main thing this season, obviously, we'll talk about this when it comes to our predictions. But the main thing for me, because I felt that we could go one of 2 ways next season. Either we move on and we establish ourselves, we sort the groundwork out, etc., out, and go from there, or we do the same mistakes as last time, and we end up buying Origis and players of that ilk, that big names like people like Pepe, for example, on a free, who's just been released by Trabzonspor. People like Anthony Martial, who's obviously going to be on a free. These are sort of names that certain people in the Forest boardroom would lick their lips out of getting a year or so ago. And if we are to progress as a football club, we need to move past that. We need to slash our wage bill with younger players who can do a job in the immediate short term. Yeah. And then obviously we sell them on in the future. So it's very dependent on that. But being linked with players of that kind suggests that we are starting to learn, which is promising.
Anthony Martial in a counter-attacking team. Go on. I'm joking.
Maybe because it's a job better than anything else.
I mean, other news to just report on, like safe standings going in. I don't know if it's going in your section, Reece and Christian, but that's good news. Hopefully now stewards will stop trying to tell everyone to sit down in that area. Obviously, Lower Bridgeford at the away end are getting it. I think it's good. They're filling in the gaps to take the capacity over 30,000. Great stuff.
I'll miss the obligatory. The stewards walking up after 25 minutes going, can everyone sit down, please? And then everyone going, if you hate Derby, stand up. And they just retreat down solemnly every single time.
Can't get their steps in anymore. And then
box ticking exercise. What society nowadays?
We've had the underwhelming announcement of some friendlies. Obviously, we're going to Chesterfield, which is quite a nice one. But then like the Spain trip, which happened last year at the same sort of stadium, where we play like Millwall, Sunderland, and I can't remember the other team off the top of my head.
Elche.
And then we play, but like Derby are playing like 5 hours before against Stockport County. I mean, that is a. I mean, who's organised this like trip? But yeah, no, I think it's all starting to kind of come together. Where, like we say, we're hoping for like kit announcements in the next got to be soon. Really, you start getting them sales in, aren't you, for the club, and everyone getting the nice shirts on. Are we expecting anything nice from the shirts? Are we all kind of think it'll be a little bit meh?
The template won't it, unfortunately, be an Adidas. I wish we was in that bracket of clubs who did the Adidas Originals training wear and stuff, because I think they fly off the shelf for Forest as they will with the other clubs, but it'll probably be a templated version. I'm not sure if you guys have seen Trying to think, Chili's shirt I seen a picture of earlier where it's got the white up here. It'll probably be something like that, I'd imagine. But you know, that's a choice, isn't it? Really, either get Adidas, which I'd say is better quality, but a template, or Macron, where the quality wasn't as good, but you get more of a bespoke design. But I won't lose any sleep over it.
The last thing is, because I spoke to Lee about this, obviously about Eric Silva de Maria. Recently, you had a bit of a you put up our squad thing over this week and kind of filling in gaps, and you kind of thought he's more for the B team, with maybe the incline of looking at him, and obviously everyone, and including myself in this, we made a big fuss of signing for the first team and having a video and all that sort of stuff. I don't know if that's just because the media team needs something to do or what, but what I just want a brief opinion from you both on that signing, because he comes with a bit of a reputation, having won the World Cup and the Euros of Germany.
Yeah, to be fair, we did that with Aguilera, and he's been pretty much, I'd say, in and around the B team, and he'd been out on loan. I mean, we also did it with Hwang and Bowl, who'd never kicked a ball for us.
It's media team not got anything to do with that.
Yeah, so I'd imagine it'd be more part of the B team, and then playing in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy games, which is Wigan, Morecambe, and Carlisle. Some nice trips there. Yeah, and then because it's not like he's played for St. Pauli. You know, they won the Bundesliga 2 last season, and he didn't play for them. So if he's not playing, you know, for them, he's not going to go straight. I wouldn't say he's going to go straight into our first team squad. You know, he might be on the bench a few times, and he might, you know, for the cups or whatever, and probably maybe training with a squad. But I'd imagine it will be with the B team, and as time goes on, integrate him into the first team squad. I think there is a bit of a clear move from Forest to try and improve that B team. You know, that probably to compete in the Premier League. Is it Premier League 2, isn't it? And obviously they did really well, to be fair. The lads in the trophy last season got to the knockout stages. So yeah, and you know, you're signing these players for pretty cheap, and then if they do come good, you can flog them on for a lot of money. See Murillo, for example, you know, 10 million pretty much wanted, and we're looking for 60, 70 million within a season. That's the way we're going to have to do business if we're going to kind of survive and progress at this level, really.
Yeah,
buy cheap and sell big.
Or hopefully they grow with us.
It'd be nice, yeah, but we know that the game's a game, isn't it? We know if your big hitters come sniffing and they're willing to pay the money, the players are off, is the reality, unfortunately, especially with how much Murillo loves London. But
yeah,
to be honest, I don't see anybody paying 70 million for him this season. But I think if Chelsea's interest was to come to fruition, I think it'd be cash plus players they can get rid of. So hopefully we can keep him for at least another season, but we'll see.
Yeah, Christian, anything to add?
Yeah, I in a bit of a rare instance, I actually disagree with Reece. I think that he will be involved. I think that you know, there was far too much fanfare for a player that we've signed for effectively a B team signing for otherwise. You know, they nibbled it for about 3 or 4 days for us. Like, they don't do that for B team signings. It's normally to the retweet from the academy page, and that's it. So I think there probably is more to it than meets the eye of that one. And also, I don't believe there's notion that just because he hasn't necessarily played where he's been before doesn't mean he won't play for us. I mean, I know obviously it's very different, but if you look at people like Romeo Lavia, for example, didn't kick a single ball for Man City, went straight in Southampton's first team. I see James Trafford didn't kick a ball for City, went straight on loan to League One, Bolton. Even Rodrigo Ribeiro, who we signed on loan last season from Sporting Lisbon, played maybe about 20 minutes for them, played out 6 times for us in total off the bench. So I think he probably will be a bit more involved than we maybe think. I think it'll probably be a mixture of B team games and first team, like just being on the bench and stuff like that. But I do think that there was a bigger plan for him than in place. And by all means, he's had a very exciting talent. But just seen as well, Percy's just tweeted saying that Elliot Anderson having medical now after 35 million fee agreed with Newcastle. So that fee is genuine. Elanga set to stay. Forest didn't want to sell, and the only swap deal considered would have been for Minty, not the EastEnders character. Niakhate and Elanga to Lyon on final stages and will end any PSR fears. So that combined, that's the key sentence is obviously that last bit, because sanctioning £35 million when you've just escaped a PSR hole was naturally quite concerning. But yeah.
I think something what we can commend this board for is I don't think they've ever let players go on the cheap. I think they've always maximised value. I think when you look back to Matty Cash, we held out, didn't we, for that? I think it was
as well.
Assombalonga is another one. I think Varensos did that deal, didn't he, for cash? I remember Dan Taylor saying Forest held out to get maximum value.
Even Johnson.
Johnson, another one. So that, you know, players aren't going to go for pittance. You know, if somebody wants Morgan Gibbs-White, you know, they're going to have to pay top money, because our combined deal was 45 million, wasn't it? So we're going to want to make profit on that, for example. So that is something I will commend the board for. I think they've always maximised profit. And you even look at deals like the Apaya deal, who was just you know,
Brereton as well, really.
Yeah,
Brereton. $7.5 million for Brereton after a couple of starts. Like.
At the times, it didn't really. They were just academy players, weren't they? Really. So yeah, I think we're safe in the knowledge that nobody's going to now go on the cheap, which is good.
I still don't believe it's 35 million up front though. So
there'll be details about that fee, but ultimately, like, I mean, we were all saying, like, you know, these are North East reporters. They obviously have to make the club look good in some light. Percy's now said that. So,
to be fair, was it that Luke Edwards? They work for the Telegraph, both of them, don't they? So they're kind of going to align on that. The problem is now we're just going that Elliot Anderson is going to be stained with that money. He's a £35 million player. Same with Gibbs-White. Yeah. Obviously, with Gibbs-White, he did really well. Sangare is one. So, you know, it put pressure on the lad, but hopefully he can do well for us.
Yeah, hopefully. Like just to let Forest fans know, don't give the kid too much stick or do. Well, I mean, I can't really tell anyone what to do, but I know what we're like. Like you say, Reece, we like to beat people with a stick on our fan base, unfortunately. But we'll see. Anyway, I think that's kind of everything covered. If there's anything else you want to add, guys, then do so now. But I don't think there really is there?
I mean, Christian spoke about the fixtures. It was with Lee, wasn't it? I mean,
yeah. What's your thoughts on the third? We've got kind of opening first few games at least.
I'm not going to say I don't want to upset our friend Elliot, so I'm not going to say the winnable games. But you know, Bournemouth. You know, well, they're our bogey team nowadays, aren't they? So it's not that won't be an easy start. Southampton away, I think it's the first away into. Yeah. I'm guessing that'll be their first home game, so they'll want to get off to a good start. Every game at this level's tough, so we'll see. We'll see what happens, mate. At least I guess it isn't like last season where we've got all the big hitters at the start and the kind of this time scattered throughout the season.
December is when we get it all in the
City and United back to back. I'm just having a look.
Man United are rubbish, so we're fine now. We're fine. Guys, hopefully everyone's enjoyed watching this morning. Thank you very much. We picked about 80 viewers, so thank you for joining us this morning. Hope everyone enjoys the England and they don't cause too much pain and sorrow later on. We'll see you in the next one. There's probably more madness going on at the City Ground, but for that, I'll take care. Have a good one. Come on.